All right, I'd like to take this opportunity, welcome everybody to the Independent Investor Channel live stream. It's a touch early. It is indeed Friday evening. We are about to kick off the fastest 60 minutes on YouTube. At least it's fast for me. I feel like there's an infinite amount of knowledge to pass. And if you guys are new to the Independent Investor Channel live stream, stick around for the full 60 minutes. It's going to be imperative. This is a channel unlike any others. I named this channel the Independent Investor Channel for a lot of different reasons. Okay, this channel was incepted on an island, and it'll take place on an island. And the reason for that is because I've never been a real fan of groupthink. I really haven't. And social media allows for unique perspective, testimonial, etc., on how I seek out my exposure to the stock market. And I think it is a story that needs to be told. I do. There is a reason why I'm approaching $500,000. That is into my 2021 goal for sure. I've done so on a blue collar salary, spent a lot of my time up in Alaska on fishing boats, paying for college debt. And a lot of my 20s and 30s just figuring out a whole heck of a lot about life and specifically about investing specifically. Investing for me really didn't come full circle until I was around 34 years old. I am now 43 years old. So about 10 years, I would say I've been doing this thing correctly with a proper acknowledgement to the right stuff, the goods. All right. And in this, I'm going to try to dig as deep as I possibly can. I have chai tea in my cup. That typically means that you're going to get somewhat of a wiser perspective from me. I'm not drinking bourbon this evening. It usually becomes very interesting toward the end of the stream when I am drinking bourbon, where you get the slushy version of Ryan. Tonight, I'm really going to try to dig deep. It's super, super important for me to deliver a razor sharp message to people, because if they are making their way onto the Independent Investor Channel, we want to make sure that they have a life-changing experience. And it is empowering information. Guys, you're going to want to stick around. Welcome everybody to the live stream. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We'll kick it off in just a few moments. Yeah, so these are some of the things that you're going to get when you come into the Independent Investor Chat live stream. It's a little more engaging, gives me the opportunity to allow others the opportunity to maybe seek out some Q&A. I'm an avid investor. I have been for quite some time. I don't remember a time in my life when I didn't have some exposure to this very room right behind me. I've actually stepped foot on the New York Stock Exchange floor not once, but twice. It was quite an experience for me. This photo was taken by yours truly. So I wish I could have got a better stock than what's there, the Pad Thai Chinese stock. I wish I could have got something a little bit better, but that was what was coming up on the big board that day anyway. Anyone else long BACIM? I just entered another 100 share position. I'm being fairly diplomatic with my positioning in the stock market right now. Being careful. I'm treading lightly. I'm not getting over my heels in this thing. 2020 has been, amidst a lot of bad news, a pretty darn good year for me with the financial piece. You guys will understand a lot about my message if you do give it more of a chance than a one YouTube offering, etc. This is just one of the many conduits that I roll out, this being one of my absolute favorites. My favorite is when I get to sit across people on a Zoom meeting. And I do have a ton of people actually hitting me up outside the scope of my Viper group. And I have stood down on doing that. I won't do it anymore. I won't. I will not compromise the service that's been already paid for in the Viper group. I'm going to give a plug for it. But first and foremost, I'm going to give a shout out to Alan and CJ, who are my newest members of the Viper group. We are up to 27 strong. We absolutely are rocking in that thing. And come January 2nd, guys, I will lock that group down. I will not be having any more specials throughout the day. I'm just being honest. Just being forward with you guys. We will run the special once a year, and that's just how it's going to be during holiday time. That's how it's going to roll. And I do that for a reason. I'm not really looking to establish a chatty group. I'm not looking for that. Forget it. I want to take it to the next level for these folks who have taken it to that next level. And that is the conduit for that type of activity. And the conversations in there, man, I mean, I'm benefiting from it. And I know Matt Money would say the same. He enjoys this stuff just as much as I do. And you're getting to hear it from a different perspective from Matt and Kyle, who helped me in the administrative role in the WhatsApp group. But if you are interested in checking that out, you guys can check it out at independentinvestorgroup.com. That was one of many freaking things that I'm thankful for this year. Family, absolutely. My two kids, my beautiful wife, the Independent Investor channel, my health. And I hope everyone in the group has just taken a few moments to reflect on how freaking amazing it is to come together on a forum like this and talk about the financial topic. Okay. When you move away from this topic and you're away from YouTube, living your life, I certainly hope that you're finding all the fulfillment that you can possibly find in your life. Okay. But this is the time for resolutions, guys. This is the time. The time is now to start thinking about 2021. Good grief, it can't be any worse than this year, right? Maybe just take some time to think about whether it be the financial piece. Okay. I mean, I know a few of these folks that have got this thing licked and then some. I tend to think of the investing gig as more of an evolving discipline as opposed to a wishy-washy tune into a few YouTube videos and decide what stock you're going to buy next week. I think that type of BS is really kind of got me turned off of YouTube altogether. The irony in the whole thing is that I own a damn YouTube channel myself. So I can't ignore it altogether, nor will I, because until I have other folks that are preaching the same message, which I do have some extremely disciplined investors within this group. Matt Money comes right to the top of my mind. And Matt Money doesn't have a large YouTube channel either. And I don't really think he cares. I think probably he monitors the landscape just as much as me and is probably turned off by the amount of know-it-alls and the amount of followership through YouTube and social media as a whole. Okay. If you are new to the channel and you want a little more insight as to what I'm talking about, I've spent a lifetime researching the power of direct connection to the stock market. I've devoted my life's craft to it. I wish I was a good musician. I love guitar playing. I still to this day enjoy guitar playing, and I will have a studio. I'm not very good at that. Okay. I'm good at this. And I'm trying to earmark those aspects and disciplines of investing that can be scaled to the masses. Okay. Things that anybody can do, whether or not you have a lot of experience or whether or not you have all the experience in the world, but maybe have been naive to some of those other options out there. Maybe you're not leveraging the power of technology and access the way that you could be. And if there's anything that I've learned through really rolling out the Zoom product throughout this year, it started last year, it's really validated for me sitting across from people and understanding what it is that they need. All right. This is not a one-way street. This is not a one-way message where I get up here and teach and you listen and deploy. It's not about that. All right. I strategically offer different ways of explaining through my access to the stock market, but I always try to digress and explain what it is and why it is I'm doing what I'm doing. Why do I do that? It's so you don't miss the point and see the holdings, the ticker symbols, and just rush out to go buy those names, okay? You have to ask yourself, what does a JP Morgan mean to your portfolio at any given time? The very first comment that I put on the screen here, what is Bank of America? Yeah, I'm bullish on the company. but financials have been in the doghouse for the last decade, right? So, are there good buys out there? Sure, there are. But there has to be some context around why it is we're entering into certain equities. Now, think about an equity not necessarily as a win, lose, or a zero sum game. Think about the dollars that you're putting into an equity as being more of a risk type of equation. In other words, you're seeking out your exposure by seeking your position in Bank of America if and only if it fits into your particular program. Okay. Do you need sector exposure in financials? Okay. There's a lot of different ways to seek that out. Okay. A lot of different mixes. There's an infinite amount of portfolios that can be rendered. But the idea is if we're looking at a specific sector, we're looking at particular holdings like Citigroup, which is number one on my list. I'm a big fan of JP Morgan. I think Wells Fargo really does get a bad beat for the retail banking that they were well known for during their account scandal. The reason why I think that's somewhat ill-founded is the other side of the corporate lending and the international lending that Wells Fargo is part of. That's kind of the behind the scenes piece of Wells Fargo, which makes it extremely bullish here in the mid to upper 20s. Okay. And I know a lot of people would disagree with that, but that's just the way it shakes out. And then, finally, you've got some other financials in the sector that I really do like. I like PNC Bank. It's always been one of my favorites. And then BlackRock, which is just run to the moon. If you guys don't know, BlackRock is in charge of the government pension program. Okay. So you get those specific offerings and you think, okay, well, that's really cool, man. He just spouted off 5 off of memory. I don't teleprompt anything and I don't script my live streams. But I will say that single stock, the way that I just spouted it out and just talked about equities that we revolve around may not be for everybody. Okay. I am a holder of the financial sector specialty ETF as well. That may be a better route for you. And then some of these other good big names, JP Morgan, Bank of America, etc., all part of the S&P 500, right? So you can gain your exposure that way if that's the way you choose to put your dollars to risk. But it is always an exercise in questioning the risk profile of a specific equity, okay, or a specific ETF or specific index fund. That's the key here. And I think that's some of the questions that are not being asked on the wishy-washy side of it when we're tuning into all these YouTube channels that seemingly they look confused when they're recommending these stocks. They seem very, very, they have strong conviction. Okay. But I think the conviction comes from a place that if they just put out these videos over and over and over again, it doesn't really matter the impact on the end user. The only thing that matters is growing their YouTube channel exponentially. That's the only thing that matters. I tend to run a little different show here. I don't do YouTube for a living. I do this for fun. Okay. And when it stops being fun, I'll slam the door on this opportunity. But here's the thing. What this channel is about is the individuals that make up this channel. You. Okay. Not me. I'm a pretty good marshal and steward of the self-directed investing gig. I'm a pretty good advocate and ambassador. And I think we're maybe 2 shakes away from something breaking loose. I look at my YouTube channel as an online resume. I really do. And until somebody comes across my channel and says, this guy's legit, which I am, and he knows what he's talking about, which I do, then we're going to keep pushing out this message and we're going to keep empowering folks out there that don't think that they can do it. If you're out there and you're just starting out in this gig and you don't have a lot of income to rub together, think about what I just said at the top of the live stream about getting started really at 34 correctly. I really did spend a lot of time, guys, investing in things that probably I didn't need to be investing in. I mean, I bought the Mustang 5.0 convertible back when I was, 20 years old. Was that a stupid move? Yeah, it was at the time. I look back and it's just like that was a foolish move. And I think somebody to come on and share some of these little insights and little tidbits and it makes you kind of wonder, man, if you sit through a live stream of mine, I think some people for the first time may end up digging deep and say, wow, can I do this? Can I do this? I never before thought I could do this. And now I'm starting to think maybe this is possible. I'm here to tell you it is. It is. I think in a society that seemingly keeps their thumb on a lot of hardworking people, they would rather have you think that you can't do it. If you've ever questioned why this stuff is not taught in school, and this is why you need folks like me establishing an awareness piece on financial discipline and self-improvement and self-empowerment, because seemingly for the last 20, 30 years, it's always just been, hey, you need to seek out your services from a financial planner. I'm here to tell you that your ability to direct connect yourself to this right here has never been easier. It's never been easier. So it starts right here, really does. This machine right here, the direct connection. I was just talking to my kid about when they had Ramcell was the name of the company, and it was the first cell phone. You guys remember those? You can Google them, man. It was the size of a brick. It had a plastic antenna on it, and it had one little flip. You got 20 minutes of talk time if you could get through to somebody. And the very nature of getting through to somebody to have a conversation across the mountain, what was the intrigue? Okay. This sucker right here, this blows my socks off. Okay. This Apple iPhone 11 is the most powerful tool. It's incredible. I run everything through it. My point is the ease of access and the amount of acceleration in the investing space has never been so incredible. I remember starting this channel just 3.5 years ago and talking about my major broker, which is Merrill, not offering free trades. We've done away with all that. So the access to the market now to enter into ETF, index fund, equity positions, etc., can be done so free of charge. Free. It's freaking free. Okay. I've paid in my life upwards of $50 with the services of a managed trade or a custodial trade, right? One that involved a broker. And they were bound by the amount of fees that they needed to tack on top of that transaction. And honestly, guys, we are past those days, and it really is exciting. You know, new technology has allowed a little bit more creativity within our portfolio building. You have products like M1 Finance, and they're really good. I'm going to declare to you guys the M1 Finance portfolios. So if it is your first time, you're going to want to stick around, because I'm going to roll out 5 accounts for you guys totaling a lot. It's going to be a lot. And I'm going to roll those out to you guys rapid fire, and I'm going to kind of explain it. Hell, let's do it now. We might as well. And then I'm going to get to questions, and we are going to engage with the audience this evening. So this right here is a taxable brokerage account, 102,449. Market action today was fairly muted in a partial day of trading, but you can see there that this is the most heavy weighted to cash that I have. This is a strategic move of myself. If I'm going to be risky and full throttle in a taxable account, it's going to be done so with the market in a little bit better of a condition, especially for passive investing. You guys can see the holding there in VTI. But all those are fairly good dividend payers. As a matter of fact, all of them are. The only two are the speculative plays in the switchback warrants and the Hyliion warrants, which Hyliion should be very, very close to deeming effective here. The S1 Alpha Amendment, I announced this on my Wednesday live stream for you guys that are paying attention to that, which I am. I've been on that phone with the broker 6 times regarding that holding. But that'll be good to see that finalized and deemed effective, and get those warrants eligible for conversion. And I'll be making that conversion. There's 2,850 warrants across the accounts, but that's account number 1 there. And then we'll cruise over. This is really the flagship account, 110. We passed over 054, a little bit of a notch up on stock exposure. I can highlight for you guys some of the newer positions in here. It's been in a fairly tight trading range here at all-time highs. In other words, the market really hasn't given a whole lot of opportunity on a retrace at all. It's really just urging toward that that uptick. And I think we're due for a pullback. Hopefully, it's always a healthy move to get those pullbacks in the market. But I've seen some value plays in the portfolio really come back. Value plays that I've seen in the red for a long, long time, multiple year positions. There it is, 3M. 3M is back in the black for me. Cisco's coming back nicely. CVS is a new ad. Home Depot, Philip Morris looking good. And then Pepsi, JP Morgan is in the black. Pfizer's been on fire here. If you didn't buy it over 40, you would have been fine with that. These are value plays. You don't have to worry about getting the perfect entry on these. But this, nonetheless, this is the Roth IRA number one. And then I'll roll out number two. Right behind the other one in account value. This is a little more heavily weighted. This is my account. And this is a complement to my existing thrift savings plan that I don't declare very often through YouTube. You know, it is what it is, whatever. That's the employer sponsored plan that I have through the TSP, and that is passive in nature. The insight I will give you on that, my rationale for that is I'm due a pension, and the TSP is in addition to the pension. So these accounts that I'm declaring to you now are in addition to money that's going to be due to me later. So I'll be sitting good. I'm going to do the Independent Investor channel, not so I can trip and fall into a Ferrari. It's for the sheer purpose of, well, I want to, number one. And number two, I believe wholeheartedly in my heart that people need people like me to advocate. Okay. I'll provide more value in a ticker tape that I'm running for you guys. This is real. Okay. I don't make this up. I took away the cents because I didn't figure you needed to know the cents, but 107,472, that's real. It's not made up. I update it every single week for the live stream, and I had it updated for the Wednesday 2-hour special, but I just failed to roll it out Wednesday because I was on a rant. Yeah, I was on a rant. I was pissed. Here's the M1 sector specialty ETF. The S&P 500 is comprised of 11 sectors. The Vanguard products are my preferred. It doesn't mean that that's the right or wrong way to invest. It's just my preferred. I like their reputation and I like their cost for the product that they offer. So those are the 11. Those are the sectors of the S&P 500. Very simple. And with M1 Finance, it always goes toward funding the lowest held ETF in the portfolio. So just a different way of investing. So you see there that VBE, which is Vanguard's energy. It's just been clobbered. I'm happy to report to you that 11 out of 11 of these are in the green. Coupled with the power of M1 Finance, the entire portfolio is in the green. So kind of a cool way, kind of a hybrid way of seeking diversified exposure across small, mid, and large capital companies within each respective sector. And the last thing I will add with this is that I have technology as the highest weighting at 14%. And then I drop my percentage as I get all the way down to the lowest, which is materials there, and telecommunication, which is the last one, at around 3 or 4% respectively in the portfolio. Okay. I don't want to have materials being at the highest weighted in the portfolio. This allows me to strategically go in there and fine tune the portfolio to my liking. Okay. All right. Very cool. And this is the M1 Finance aggressive growth. This is the sexy stuff. This is the stuff that I could just get on and probably put on a clown suit and jump up and down. I just think investing is investing. I no more, no less. And the more we can portray investing in that manner, the more people who really don't have a lot of time for a lot of BS are going to make their way to my message and be like, you know what, I can appreciate that. I don't need the jumping up and down and the hooting and hollering about people's money. This is serious business. So I typically try to keep this conversation a little bit more centered around my holdings, because this is not rare. Excuse me, it is very rare. How many people do you know are willing to come onto social media and share 5 out of the majority? I share them all eventually. I share my cash holdings. That's fine. It's just not that big of a deal to me. The deeper reality is why I focus on the fundamental. How do we get to this end? How do we get to this place? Right? What is the discipline that we can start to evolve with that will stay with you the rest of your life, and shy away from the wishy-washy garbage that's on YouTube a lot. I personally don't have an agenda. Would I love to see my YouTube channel blow up and make 1 million subscribers? Yes, I would. Am I capable of that type of thing? In my heart, I believe I am. But is my message, does my message and my approach and my capability uh, transcend to the masses? Probably not, but it's yet to be seen. I don't worry about it. I don't really worry too much about any of that stuff. I typically don't really compare myself to anybody other than myself. And what that means is, how can I improve the channel? How can I improve the message that we have coming through the channel? And a couple of those improvements came in 2020. And I do want to give a special shout out to Kyle. Kyle was with Passive Income Investor. Kyle probably did one of the kindest gestures that I think anybody's done for me, especially within business, because like a lot of things, and especially in business, a lot of people disappoint me. They really do. And Kyle really helped me incept one of the coolest websites. That's the independentinvestorgroup.com. I built the independentinvestorchannel.com, which both have their strategic places. The group.com is your ability to join the Viper group and be on day-to-day comms with me in the WhatsApp group. It's a lot of fun. The Independent Investor Channel I built for more of a strategic drop point for channel creators and investors alike, who can kind of come to a website and find all of those nuggets, right? The goods, those good websites, those good reading books, those good programs that you can prescribe to. Okay, stock screeners for channel creators, all the equipment. You can link over to my Amazon. I put all that stuff on my storefront because there's been times when I'm like, what mic do you buy? What camera do you shoot? This is the HD Logi. And, if I didn't have Jason from JMac Investing say, hey, this is what I use, it's pretty awesome, those recommendations go a long way because he's already put the equipment into work. These LEDs that are shining right in my face right now, all that equipment is declared through the Amazon piece. So that's been incepted in 2020. And going into 2021, we would really enjoy the opportunity to build those products out. I've been off the podcast for a while for no specific reason. I get these veins of motivation where I'll sit down and throw down. I do have some topics to do, but I just haven't got around to it. It's no big deal. But the podcast is a lot of fun for me, and it's a different way of consuming and a lot of people's preferred method of consuming content as well. So that's the portfolio. That's what we're working for, at least from a partial perspective. That does not involve cash. It does not involve the TSP, and it doesn't involve some other things that I've got. But we're progressing along the road nonetheless. And that's certainly what I would expect, that you guys are taking stock of what we have, no pun intended. Do some estate planning if you feel like the portfolio is set up. I know I've talked to a few people in the group here who really do think about that planning aspect down the line. What is it that's going to be ease of access when I'm gone? This was the first year, I'm 43, where I finally did a formal will for myself and my wife, right? That's a gift that I can give my children that can convey what it is I want conveyed if I'm not here to convey it, which when I'm around, I'm pretty good at conveying that type of thing, with my twist. But those types of things, those holistic, responsible things are something to kind of take into consideration as we move into 2020. They're not exciting things to think about, but they are extremely important to think about. Those what ifs, what if it does happen. And you guys know, I mean, this is kind of my life in a nutshell right here. That's it. Boom. So in the event of something happening, just goes back to my importance of having some organization in your life and having those things codified for your loved ones. So just some ideas, throwing out little nuggets, throwing out the goods. Now let's get to the group, man. Awesome. Really appreciate everybody. I saw you pop in there for just a second, Lydia. I don't know if you want to come on. You're totally welcome to. I'm going to throw one more invite in here. Otherwise, I'll run the live stream myself. That's totally fine. But there you go. That will be the last invite I drop in here because I'm going to try to get to some of these great folks who have made their way in. We've got all good. Very cool. She's probably one of those people that I am blessed to know, and one of those people who I would give thanks to know. There's a lot of good in the world. There really is. And it's encouraging to me amongst a landscape of what I observe to maybe not be so good. Maybe it's the cynic in me. Maybe I need to be a little more diplomatic in what it is that I see, but I can't help saying what it is that I see. And it's always encouraging to me when I see somebody that represents what I feel is good in this world. Yes, ma'am. That's the way I feel. You bet. Mr. Bob's getting over his surgery. He got to brought the Thanksgiving yesterday by the miss. That was awful nice of her, man. You lucky man. You're a lucky man. Very cool. It's great to see you, my friend. And I got Randy with Retire with Options in the house. Very cool. I donated the leftovers to Nicola investors. Ouch. Yeah, that's a tough one. One of those companies I looked at, I wasn't tempted at all to invest in. The complete opposite with Hyliion. It seemed like a no-brainer to me, but Nicola didn't cut it with me. There was way too much dreamy talk going on there, and not a lot of substance. And there's a little bit of dreamy talk going on with Hyliion for sure. But the question is, are they just putting on this lipstick not to go dance? I don't think so. I think this board's going to get it done. That's my story, and that's what I'm sticking to. Got RG Titan in the house. Great to see you, my friend. Happy Thanksgiving to you. The sandwiches. Yeah, but I like the jellied cranberry sauce instead of the berried cranberry sauce. Is anybody else with me on that? You got to have the jellied for the sandwich. I don't like the whole berries. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Again, maybe that's just my picky nature. I don't know, man. Maybe it's my problem. Who knows? Yeah, Chris J in the house. So every now and then during the live stream, if you do frequent, I do have a lot of frequent subscribers that make their way onto the live stream. Every now and then I will throw a wrench and make those folks an administrator. It is one of the perks as well. It just gives you the acknowledgement that maybe you said something or made a comment that kind of resonated with me. So it is kind of earned, but at the same time, you've got the opportunity to moderate the conversation, because I need people to help moderate it as we're progressing through, and let me do my gig and let me not get sidetracked by a bunch of garbage. I did invite somebody on to debate with me on the live stream tonight. You know, it's ironic to me. It was somebody that was slinging some hate on the channel again. I did invite him on again. And, you know, it must be the greatest secret ever. But here's the secret that I'm just going to unravel to you. I do these live streams every single Friday night at 9 o'clock. Okay. And of all the hate that I get, which is fairly controlled on the channel, it's fairly controlled. I will say that I have never, ever had anybody want to come on and just completely argue with me. I think it'd be interesting to see one of these times. But I cordially invited the individual to come on and debate me on the topic. We'll see. I think a lot of people like to hide behind the prospects of social media, and they don't like the face-to-face, right? They just want to say their piece and make themselves feel better. But when it comes to face-to-face, I think most people are sissies. That's just my opinion. All right. Got Ryan Griffin in the house. I'm going to bring him on real quick. Ryan, what's going on? Happy Thanksgiving to you and the family, man. You got a lot to be thankful for, don't you?
Oh, of course, Ryan. How you been, brother?
I've been good. You know, it's just been a weird year, man. Like, I didn't get to take my yearly vacation. I usually try to take the kids on one vacation. We didn't get to. And so that kind of thing, that release that we don't get usually, it's like, I would rather just get this thing over with, to be honest with you. I want a fresh start.
Where do you usually like to travel to?
Well, we had it booked this year to Europe, so we had
Oh wow.
3 weeks. Yeah, because my wife's from Czech Republic, right? So we go back there and try to visit because family's getting up there in age, and we have to take advantage. Like it's just, and I enjoy the heck out of going over there. But we had Croatia on the docket. We always try to pick a strategic spot to kind of be like, let's go here for a week, and Croatia was it, and we're going to do it next year. We've got it rebooked again, and man alive, with all the credits and all the discounts, they still got me for $650. But
Jesus.
we're going to try. Our mini vacation next May is to the Smoky Mountains. That'll be kind of cool in
Nice.
Tennessee. So that'll be kind of fun.
Yeah, I feel like you need it. I went up to go. We did a little bit of traveling. I went up to Savannah, just did a road trip from South
Nice.
Florida. It's nice to get away. And then I did get on an airplane. I visited my in-laws had not met my newborn daughter. So we did take that trip to New York, and it was very strange. I tell you, you fly into the state of New York, and the government calls you every day, and they want to monitor what you're doing. Like I was staying with my mother-in-law, like they said, like don't use the same bathroom as her. It was like you don't know like if you're like getting in trouble or it's like they're like following
Yeah,
your cell phone. You're like, what's the implication? It's a strange. It has been a strange year for
it
sure.
has. It has. We're tired of wearing masks. You wouldn't believe what I had to go through today, Ryan, to get into the Apple store. I was like, I had to make an appointment, and then I had to stand in line. Then I had to stand in another line. I had to get vetted. My temperature. I'm like, I can appreciate Apple doing it the way Apple would do, right? But it's just like, oh my gosh, man, can we please?
Yeah.
It's frustrating, but
It feels like the end is near, or at least us in the market feel like it's being priced that way, right?
I'm okay. So, well, the stock market is really, really showing signs where there probably shouldn't be run up in certain stocks. It's nice to see value come back a little bit, but man, this is a little bit too late. I think value is going to take some suffrage when it does retrace. I do.
Yeah.
And so where do you go right now? So I'm really trying to earmark and think, okay, well, what do new investors do right here? Because I have to walk a careful line because there's a lot of people who are excited about investing right now, and I think that can be really a slippery slope. I think that can be tough.
You know,
You
I
know,
remember when this whole thing first started happening, and just tuning into your live stream here, you've always kind of given like how to start and how much capital to deploy, and you're always have a moderate approach to it. But I remember when things
Mhm.
were at a very high panic back in March, you said if I had everything to throw in right now, I
Go
would,
ahead,
and
go
you
at
were
it.
right.
Yeah, and it wasn't like hey, I'm right because I picked the bottom.
Right.
I think I picked my bottom at 18.6 and it ended up bottoming at 18.2. But here's the thing, my strategic push into the market at 18.6, I was willing to go to 15. Like
Right.
who knew? I mean, here's the thing. We can sit here and talk in reflection about, how good of a call that was. And then even if it was a call, everybody was saying after that call was made that we were going to retrace and double dip, right?
Yeah.
And it just never happened.
Right.
And that just kind of goes to show, look, man, if as hard as it would have been in 2020 to just enter into the market passively and exit 2020 passively, you would have been just fine. After all of that round trip, isn't that crazy to
Crazy.
think of?
It's crazy. And one of the most interesting things that I found, I was always, when I first got into investing, it was more like from like a fear instinct. Like my first investments were in like precious metals. And I was always like cautious, or I always thought investors lost money in the market because it would
Yeah,
be hard to stay liquid if you're investing in the economy that you're in. So like for example, like when everything shut down, like my business went down like 90% from one
I
week to
know.
the next, and I had to go a time without getting a paycheck. And like but like your senses tell you like this is a time to buy. So what I started doing, Ryan, is I started driving delivery dudes at night,
Yep.
and I would take out my Tesla and go deliver food just to get whatever money I could and put into the market. And people are like, you can buy a Tesla working at delivery dudes. It's like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, but I don't know if I've told you enough. Maybe I have, but I'll tell you now on a live stream. What you did this year was pretty inspiring, and it inspired me, man, because I don't know if I could have done what you did. To not have that security, and you've got the wife and kids just like I do, and it's like, I mean, If you could tell me you weren't scared, I would be like, okay, I wouldn't believe you because man, that's scary stuff, man.
Yeah,
Really is.
I've had a couple scary moments like that when you have to go walk in your house and look your kids in the eye and like feel that confidence when you're not too sure in yourself. Like those are moments that I've had a couple times, and it was tough. And actually, right before the collapse, I had started another company where I went out and bought, like, I was going to lease. I'm in the restaurant industry, so I do a lot of
Yes,
things
you
with
are.
dishwashers, and so I started an ice division, and I went out and spent $40,000 on ice machines. I'm like, great, we're going to go lease these to everyone, and we're going to create
Wow.
more income. And just a shutdown happened. All those just sat in restaurants empty, and no one paid the bill. So you take, but I feel like it's just the cycle. I've always just kind of been like somewhat more into taking risks and just
Yes, you
doing
have.
things, and just kind of when things don't go right, like just kind of figure it out. And then sometimes you get swings of good luck, just like you get swings of bad luck.
No, exactly.
And
Yeah.
I recently I just I bought another property in my neighborhood, and
Nice.
I had to pay property tax actually today, and I thought like I had to pay. I didn't realize this house I'm in right now was escrowed, so it turned out like the money I was saving, I was like, oh, I can keep that now. So it's like extra capital. Like that was pretty cool. So like every once in a while, you find a golden nugget, and things are better than you think. And it was an interesting year, to say the least, man.
What was the strategy with the investment property, if you don't mind me asking? Are you looking to rent it or how on that?
Yeah. So well, what I do, and actually retire with options. He's had some really good feedback on my videos. I move every 2 years. As long as my wife will let me, I'm gonna move every 2 years.
Dang. Awesome.
Because it allows me to buy houses with lower amount down and better interest rates. And then if I stay there for 2 years, if I want to sell, I have another 5-year window to sell that house behind me with no capital gains tax.
That's right.
So that's just like a basic thing I do, and I do rent them behind me. So I'm going to rent this house, and then I'll live in the next one. It's much cheaper to do that. And I'm just very bullish on South Florida, specifically Palm Beach, especially with the pandemic.
Yeah, especially. I know. You got everybody wanting to flock to the South, man. You're right on the money there. I think that's a trend. I think you're right. I think it's obvious. I think not only Florida, but North Carolina, for sure. Virginia, I'm seeing it right here in Virginia Beach, man. So I think you're right on the money. I would agree with that. But it's a good strategy, man. You're getting to deploy that strategy where I don't get to. I'm a little tougher. I'm a little subject to, where they tell me I've got to go at any given time.
Right.
I'm looking for that day, which will be a luxury to me when I can just establish roots in the area of my choice, But
work moves you around.
Yeah, with the military, you bet. Yeah, 15 years strong. And in retrospect, we've been to some good spots, but
right.
It's a luxury that a lot of people don't really appreciate, even if they just bought and held forever, and they don't look at their house as an investment. You're going, hey, this is a house and a home while we live here, but it is in fact an investment,
Well, I got to say, like, part of my like biases towards it, like, it's just what I thought you did was you bought real estate. My grandfather came here to the States in 1960 from the communist Cuba. And I just saw him retire very fast by doing well in real estate in South Florida. In like 10, 15 years, he retired. So as I've learned more of the stock market, you definitely find things you really like about it. Like my property, I had like a terrible issue with rodents getting into one of my rental properties. And Ryan, it drove me crazy. I spent over $10,000 trying to figure out how to get these rodents out. And there was really no way to tell until I found I had to do a smoke test and camera test. They were coming in through the sewer and they ate the plumbing in the wall. So I had everyone on the roof looking everywhere.
Damn.
And so it makes you think like how much more passive those dividends are when they're going to your account. But there's pros and cons. And, while I'm still, relatively young, I like trying different things,
I don't know, man. You're savvy. And from my selfish perspective, I like the network of folks that I know, and you're part of that network, Ryan. You've always supported the message, and it's really cool. I meet people, and I've met people my whole life. Some I keep in contact with, others I don't. But what's cool about this opportunity is that people can kind of come together over a common thread, and you're not the only one that's like got that entrepreneurial spark. I think that's really cool. Whether it be they seek it out through their employment or you as a company owner, I just think it's special, man. I really do. I think together, I think, I've got broader dreams, I guess, for this community 10 years down the line. In other words, I think maybe we'll look back on this and kind of be like, yeah, you remember that when we were doing that on YouTube, But it's cool. The power of social media. I mean, what could it mean by bringing like-minded people together? I just mentioned some of it tonight where I wouldn't have been able to get my social media projects where they got in 2020 without the help of my network.
Yeah.
That's the God's honest truth. If you try to do it yourself all the time, it's like, man, this person has this expertise here. This person has it here. This person knows their salt with real estate, which is a game I'm going to get into when I retire. I'll probably work harder than I work now, under full employment, because guys like me don't retire.
Right.
I don't even know what that means. It just means that I'm going to do what I want, when I want, how I want. That's what it means to me.
Yeah.
But
we always romanticize what we'll do when like you hit that number in dividends or this, and but like today, today we like my partner is better with like HR and people. Like I genuinely just like to work. Like I was the only one, me and like a couple other people like came in with me today, employees, but everyone wanted to take the day off. And I just think like I wanted to like say a message, like if you are complaining at all about this and you took off Black Friday to go consume something, then you're never gonna get it. You never understand this money game we're playing.
No, especially as a company owner, because I don't look at YouTube as any more than a side hustle. Okay. What you're doing is running a business. Okay. You are an entrepreneur. I don't necessarily consider YouTube to be entrepreneur. I don't. You still work for the man, whereas you don't. The decision.
I have partners, and I couldn't do it without leveraging different relationships, and it's tough. Like today, there's certain days where it's literally like tears for some. There's, like I said, going through a pandemic and just doing different things and hiring and making sure you're making the right decisions, and it's a different experience. It's fun. We'll see. I always say, like, you'll know if you did the right decisions in a couple of years. When I say that all the time, because you always, like, you make an investment or you say you're going to do this, you're going to move the business here. You better be right.
I think you're probably you do self-assessment enough to where you understand that you're not perfect with your application, but your heart's in it, and I think that can take you a long way, along with some pretty good savvy that you have naturally too, Ryan. So a lot to be thankful for, my brother. So but anyway, thanks, man. I appreciate you coming on and saying hi as usual, man. It's an open door forum here for you.
It's been a little while. I gotta hop on. Coming out of the shower, I was like, let me throw on a shirt and say hi.
That's fantastic, brother. I appreciate it. You too, buddy. Later. It's always fun, man. And that right there speaks to why I do the message. Really, it's a real kick for me. I've been accused of selling t-shirts to make money, and I've made like $20 selling t-shirts, and it's like, well, you're making all kinds of money on YouTube. Now, if you only understood the truth, man, I don't make a whole hell of a lot. I'll make a little bit of tidbit payment for my time to come out with this live stream, but I make about $5 to $10 per product. And I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that, but who's going to care? YouTube doesn't pay me any attention. Right. So why do I continue to do this? Why do I continue to persevere where most people would have faltered? It's for relationships like Ryan Giffen. It's for relationships like Matt Money and investing with Aaron. And, I've got Rebecca Questifire in the group here. I've got Lydia, who popped in, and then she got stage fright, which is surprising to me because she runs her own freaking YouTube channel and she's up 21% in her portfolio in 3 months. So I thought for sure she'd want to come on and, tell me how she's killing it in the market. But it's no big deal. She probably got caught up into something. But that's why I do it. That's the beauty of it. And the relationships for me, that's my selfish take out of it. But What really gets me is when somebody comes back and says, "Hey man, you said something during a live stream that resonated with me. I could really embrace that. I could really take that and put it to work for myself." And that's the key. That's the key. And it really is a far cry from what I see right now on YouTube. And I'm really, really trying to separate and not be perceived to be sour, because I'm not. I'm not. It's just something is being missed. Something is being driven awry. And for all the work that I've tried to put in on the Independent Investor channel to give people a crystal clear message of self-empowerment, the ability to take control of your money, it's amazing to me how many people want to show up on social media and just find every opportunity to give away the farm. Every opportunity. It's the wishy-washy approach that I talk about. And until you want to start to deploy some discipline, fundamentals that are going to stay with you the rest of your life. When somebody like Matt or Kyle comes on and they says, "Ryan, what do you think about this fundamental? What are you looking at?" Or Matt's got fundamentals that he deploys in the market. And I'm like, "Matt, what do you think about this?" Because I can acknowledge a lot of these cats are a hell of a lot better at me on some of those fundamentals, right? I think my strength is more on the psychology, the psychology of keeping this thing in check. What are you trying to do and why? Okay. If the wishy-washy program can tell me why they're doing what they're doing, okay, at any given time, then I'll eat crow. But I think a lot of that's missed. I really do. And I think if people were really, really fair about their growth rate, or they were really, really fair about how their current application is getting them ahead, look back 5 years. If you're in the same spot than you were 5 years ago, 3 years ago, where were you last year? Where are you going to be going into 2021? That's where we get into the real empowering stuff, is that through free will, you can always change the direction in where it is that you're headed in this life. We want to make sure that we're helping in that effort, not hindering. Very, very important. Okay. Very cool stuff. I cruise down here. There's Rebecca Quest. Rebecca Questafire. So she's one of my featured channels. Please check her out. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours in beautiful North Carolina. Absolutely. I hope I didn't just let the floodgates out for all the New Yorkers to move down there to your fine state, but you know the floodgates have already been opened. It's too bad, too. I love New York. I love New Yorkers. Don't get me wrong, but they are leaving New York. They're leaving, and they got to go somewhere. They're not going to go to Iceland. They're going to go to North Carolina, and they're going to go to Florida, and they're going to come here to Virginia. That's what they're doing. All right. Very cool stuff. I'm cruising through here, guys, to see if I can't get my last little section. I got investing with Aaron in the house here. Happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend. Man, my stock percent is climbing up to 83%. Well, that's a crappy problem to have. Trying to get it back to 80 stock. Okay, the percentage of allocation, 80-20. I got you. Cash, but not liking the idea of bonds, quite the problem. This might be a play on my answer that I gave you, Aaron, on Wednesday, right? It really was by nature of a book that I read that spoke about bonds. And, with my guaranteed pension, I don't know if military ever need to justify going into bonds, especially when we have the option for the G fund within the thrift savings plan, which is better than the Vanguard's BND. So it returns 3%, and it's almost guaranteed money. So I don't need it right now. It really just depends on your specific situation. And I would hesitate, not understanding the totality of. But I think when you look at the totality of, and you can ask yourself, what is it that I'm trying to seek out of this particular exposure to bonds, whatever it may be, then you just have to make sure that the results that you're going after are worth putting that plan in place. In other words, I've seen it explained to me in that pursuing a bond portfolio too early can actually end up in plan failure, because You didn't need that. You needed growth, and you needed value in your portfolio. You needed stock and equity positions, but you had a financial planner or whatever it may be talk you into an 80-20 or a 60-40 portfolio, right? Because it's done well over time. That may be great from a historical perspective, but if you could have rendered X, then why are you going for Z? Why are you trying to pursue that? Because the idea behind owning bonds is about wealth preservation, not necessarily about capital appreciation. Okay. So that's what I told you. I told you I didn't have bonds in the portfolio right now, and I'm completely freaking fine with it. I'll have regulated utilities. I'll have AT&T, which is basically like a bond, in my opinion. Honestly, it's just with my risk tolerance, I have a hard time putting money to sleep in bonds. That's just my thought. I'd rather put it to risk and, put it to an Altria group or put it to an AT&T, at least with that section of the portfolio where I'm trying to get a higher than average dividend yield, and with the yield sporting an Altria right now where it's at. And, I'm almost back in the black with AT&T. I again added another 100 shares to the position. And it's almost back in the black. I've got over 300 shares of AT&T right now. And then you've got other positions, other opportunities through Realty Income. I own the REIT WP Carry as well, which are two of my favorites. I know Matt likes Stag, I believe, and I've looked at it. It didn't appeal to me specifically, and I was happy with my current allocation to VNQ, which is real estate through Vanguard, and then the single stocks, and I'm okay with that. But yeah, it's always a constant struggle, but it's a fun deliberation. Don't overthink it. Make the decision that's best for you, and there is no right or wrong answer. It's just if it feels right to you, with your current allocation and how it aligns with your tolerance to the market, then go ahead and do that. I just think the independent investor twist and caveat to that is to acknowledge that the market is at an all-time high right now. And this is just not a market that I feel comfortable dumping crap loads on the market. Look for alternative investments. Look for the opportunity to branch out in your portfolio. Perhaps maybe it's time to put a little extra payment on the house. Maybe it's time to add a little precious metals to the portfolio. I'm a big fan of alt investing, guns and ammo, liquor, rare art, vintage cars, whatever it may be. That there's other things you can do with your life. Okay. It doesn't always need to be consumed and surrounded by stock market activity. The stock market has just provided a very, very lucrative environment over the last 10 years. It's just, I feel like in my heart of hearts, it's lulled a lot of young investors to sleep, thinking that this whole trip and fall into the market and make piles of money, that's what I'm doing. You don't think I'm a savvy investor, guys? You don't think I'm sitting on the sideline just killing it? The only difference from me is I have a moral backbone and a moral compass not to come on and brag about all the profits I'm making in the portfolio. Hell, I just gave them all you tonight. You can have it for free. But I'm not coming out and blah, blah, blah for an 8-minute YouTube video. Hey, I'm the best investor ever. I'll let my results speak for it. It doesn't even matter because it doesn't appeal to the masses. Okay. Before you get to that place where I'm at in identifying my strategic spots, you've got to go through the evolution of becoming an investor and getting to that place where you are almost eligible to take those positions. Right now, I think a lot of people are investing, and they're investing in a naive way, in that they really don't know how bad it feels to get burned really, really bad. And the stock market can dole out those lessons, no doubt about it. And they'll dole them out when you think you've got this thing licked, and you're the most incredible YouTuber out there because you're up X number of dollars. It doesn't even matter, right? But you'll learn to understand that this gig has two directions, up and down. Okay. And I think a lot of new investors are being lulled to sleep right now into thinking the stock market is indefinitely going to go up forever. And I'm here to tell you that is an absolute farce. It is absolutely untrue, and it's not going to happen. All right. So with that, guys, I think I got really to the end. Thank you to Ryan Giffen again for coming on and being a guest on the Independent Investor Channel. I do like that. It helps split it up. Stop by, man. If you've got plans to stop by, I know Lydia did. I'm going to drop the link in there one last time. I've had somebody jump in there every single time after every single live stream because they don't want to come onto the live stream. But there it is, one last. I will stay for as long as I need. I stayed for about 20 minutes last time, and I was glad to do it, guys. I really am. But happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Stick around. I'm sure Matt and Kyle are going to throw down. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We will be back again on schedule next Friday on the Independent Investor Channel live stream. Be safe, guys, and enjoy family, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.